Okay, welcome back. I hope you guys all enjoyed your break. I did enjoy mine. Today we haven't done anything yet with Visual Studio Code, right? So might be a good time for us to check that out. Do we have everyone back yet? Can I see a thumbs up if you're back? That way we can make sure that nobody gets left behind. Okay, looks good, looks good. I'm not sure if Mr. Fabian is back, but I'm pretty sure he will be just in time for us to continue. All right. So, what questions do you have before we dive into our practice? Is everybody feeling comfortable? We can probably maybe add in the chat what you think. If scale of 1 to 5, what you're thinking? Are you feeling comfortable with this? 5 being the most and 1 being the least? Nigel.
Yeah, I was just curious as in your experience, right?
Yeah.
In the job environment itself, do they use command line for these, or do they use well, what's the word for example, like the Visual Studio,
The IDE.
yeah, the integrated development environment, exactly.
Yes, so it depends. Let me see. Oops, I need to escape from here. Unfortunately, I cannot. Yeah, it depends on the case in point, right? If you want to test something quickly, a line of code, then you can use your command line as we've been using, even in Anaconda. Anaconda does have a command line. So when we create a new file, you can get a new notebook. Like when you click plus, you can get a new notebook or a new console or a new terminal. So depending on which one you want to use. So if we want a new Anaconda console, then that's probably what, I'm not sure if that's what Fabian was having issues with yesterday. He ended up with a console with Visual Studio Code. So you can just write your code in here. Let's say where is my code? If, let's start with 1. X is equal to 10. If X is greater than 0, print X and execute that. So again, here you have a Python console. So it's not really going to make much difference. You just write that each time and execute it, and you have your output. So it depends on what you probably want to use in that case. So let's see if you try using a terminal. Again, terminal, you have to go ahead and type in Python to get into the Python environment. So this is an integrated, I shouldn't say integrated, this is an interactive environment. We can do the same thing here and say X equal to 10. And then we can go ahead and say if X is greater than 0. When we use a column in an interactive environment, it's going to give us 3 dots to show that, hey, you're still writing a compound statement, you need to continue. But since we are not using an IDE, we have to give our own spaces. If I go ahead and just say print X, it's going to give me an error because it's expecting an indentation block. Okay, so that's why it's very, very prevalent. It's very popular to use an IDE because all of these problems are taken care of for us. Here again, it's black and white. You cannot really differentiate. It's not easily readable. You don't have autocomplete. You don't have all those other extensions that can be added in there for you. You don't have color coding. You don't have tips that are going to be given to you like, hey, there's an error here, there's an error there, and so on and so forth. So very few people use the command line. More people are going to use either sorry, let me go to day 4. They're going to use either a notebook, which is good because I can do all of this. I can even go in and add, let's say, instead of, let's see, I can add a cell at the top. And instead of having this cell as a code, I can have a markup and say, this is going to be H1. I don't remember how to write it. But let's say, let me just say 1. Decide to make that bold. Nope. I don't remember how to do this markdown, but let's go ahead and see if I can get a quick shortcuts. Where is it? I can't see. Oh, no. Oh, that's why I probably need to drag this. So obviously I can't see, but in here I need to be able to change that. I've changed it to a markdown. If I execute it, nothing happens. It's just a header. I can go in there and change it. I can make it to be raw HTML. If I make it to be raw HTML, I can use H1, which is header 1, and execute that. You know, everything can be done in here and can be made to look really good and easy for me. So now it looks big. I can decide to print this in PDF or save it or export it as an HTML, and it becomes a simple web page per se. So if I export it as an HTML, I should be able to see, oops, unfortunately I have an error in this case, 500 error. But yeah, that's probably because I don't have the right extension. But it's up to you, whichever one you want to use. Just get comfortable using either one of them and you should be good. Sounds good?
Yes, thank you, thank you. From what I've explained, I think you'll be better using this console right here.
Yes, you can use notebook per se. I keep trying to say notepad, or you can use your Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is also very good to use. And personally, I think Visual Studio Code is okay. It's better, like I explained yesterday. That way, you can start pushing your code to Git. As you can see, mine is still running. I probably need to close it. But here you can send your code to Git and then make your updates as you need. Okay. Sounds good. Excellent. So let's go back into our examples that we have for today. So let's try some while loops, right? While loops with unknown number of iterations. Can anyone think of any examples so far? So a good example might be if you want to find out how many payments you have for a loan. You don't really know how many payments you have, okay? So maybe decide how much the loan amount is, decide how many payments each time, and calculate how many times you're going to be making that payment. So that's one example. You can also maybe look at, I can't remember which other example would be a good one. You can also ask the user to enter values and then enter a particular number to exit out of that value. Okay, so say you want to be able to ask them to enter numbers and at some point tell them, hey, you've entered a particular code or a particular word that will say, okay, that's the end of the line for you. So let me use that as an example actually. And let's see what would be a good example. Maybe calculate maximum and minimum of numbers. Do I want to use that? Yeah, might as well. Okay.
I thought you came up with something like mortgage calculator or something.
Yeah, I want to save that mortgage for the for loop though, but
Oh,
that's
okay.
fine. I will go ahead and use that mortgage for this one. So let's try it out. Example. Do I have a folder for examples? No, I don't. So we'll just use this same one. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get loan. I don't know if I want to use mortgage. Let's just start with a car loan for starters. Let's say get car loan details. So first thing we want to know is what's the amount owed, right? So let's say your amount owed, you get the user to enter amount that they currently owe. How much is your car mortgage or car loan? Question mark would be good. And make sure that if you put the first quote or the first parenthesis applies to the input, you need another parenthesis for the float. Okay. If we did that in Visual Studio Code, it would definitely help us out with the automatic closures, opening and closing it. Okay. So we've gotten that, and we need to know what's the APR, maybe interest rate. So let's say interest. Probably just copy this over again. Nope, I did not. How much is your interest rate? We want to make it monthly or annual. The annual interest rate. Next, you want to see what payments you're so how much will you pay each month in dollars, maybe? Okay, I already copied this, so I should just paste it. Yeah. How much is your monthly payment? Finally, we want to also get how many months. We want to get how many months, and yeah, let's just go ahead and have 0 in there for now, because we want to find out how many months it's going to take us to pay that loan off, right? So to get the monthly rate for the interest, let's say monthly interest, how do we get the monthly interest? Any ideas? Monthly interest would be our annual interest, right? Let me change this to APR. Our monthly interest will be our
So
APR
it should be APR divided by 12.
divided by 12.
Mhm.
But to make it a percent, let's also divide it by 100.
Mhm.
So that tells us the percentage monthly rate. Let's make this bigger a little bit. There you go. All right. So what do we need to do? Now we want to make sure that while our condition here is while the payment is greater than 0, amount owed, sorry. While the amount owed is greater than 0, we need to continue payments. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So first, in order for us to make payment, we have to add our interest, right? So to make payment, let's say our interest paid should be equal to, because interest is what's first paid before we make the, should I say, base payment, right? So interest paid will be the amount that you owe and your monthly rate. So amount owed multiplied by that percentage APR. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And now our money owed, or amount owed, would then be equal to amount owed plus the interest.
Mhm.
So if you know that your card loan is $100, never ever in the history of mankind, and your interest is 10%, then your total amount owed would be that plus your interest.
Can we make that variable total amount owed to differentiate from the other assigned one amount owed?
Yes, so let's go ahead and do a total amount owed. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But then we're saying that our amount owed should be greater than that 0. So total amount owed, again, this is okay because we've assigned it in there. So once we do that, we want to go ahead and check maybe we don't want to do that yet. So let's make a payment, right? Let's first say calculate interest. So to make a payment, how do we make a payment? We go ahead and reduce that payment from the money owed, right? So to do that, money owed, or total amount owed, now be equals to, equal to sign, minus our payments. So each month we're going to make that payment. And then we also want to update the months, right? Update the month. Our months now should be equal to months plus 1. So that's the first month we've made a payment. Now we want to be able to print our results, right? That way everybody can see what has been going on. So to print our results, our very friendly print statement, go ahead and say you paid payments, of which, oopsie, we made that payment, and let's put a full stop. Including interest here. What's interest? Including that interest. That makes sense? So payments, you paid that, including blah, 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 interest. And maybe I should go ahead and also print the month. Month number. So first month, you paid that, and so on and so forth. Finally, let's also tell us what we owe. Balance now Total money owed. That makes sense? So again, I might want to go ahead and just print, I don't know, an extra space, let's say asterisk, to differentiate each time I make a payment. Is everybody okay with what we have so far? Let's make this smaller. So to get the car loan details, we don't know how many times it's going to take us to pay our loan. So we go ahead and check while the amount owed is greater than 0. Actually, I think I should have calculated. Yeah, the interest keeps changing each time. That's fine. At the end of the day, let's say we have a final print statement. Oops, I forgot to close that. Hold on. And we can fire this off and see how many times it's going to take us to make payments. Sounds good? So let's go ahead and execute. So how much is your car loan? Let's say 8,500. How much is your percentage APR? Let's make it easy, 10%, since it's easily. How much is your monthly payment? Let's pay 500 per month. So it tells us now that month number 1, we paid 500, including $70.83, which is interest. My balance will now be $80.70. Month number 2, you make another payment. Month number 3, and so on and so forth. As you keep paying 500, you can see you're gonna have a long ways to go to pay off this loan. Okay, so we're down all the way to 75 months. We still have a balance of, I think I'm printing something wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, for $8,000 and 500 a month.
Oops, I scrolled too fast. Yeah, I'm printing something wrong here. I'm printing the wrong balance, I believe. So total amount owed. Total amount owed. What am I printing? Total amount owed. But that was updated. So the first time it updated it, but it did not update the balance the second time. So what am I doing here? Oh, I see why. That's because I keep multiplying this on here. So I don't want that to be the case. So that's because we changed that to total amount owed. This amount never changes. This amount is always going to be, oopsie, my CPU is running low. Come on, close that. Yep, so this amount is what's causing it to change. So that should not be the right one. So total amount owed should not have been updated. So that was a trick that Aaron made me fall for. Okay, so your amount owed needs to be updated to include the interest. That's why we're having an error message. And we're never gonna get out of this loop. We fell into an infinite loop.
Yeah.
Okay, so eventually.
But actually,
Yes.
this is my best part, though. This is my best part, right?
Yes.
Trying to understand why your stuff is not working.
Why your code is not working? Yes, that's
Yes.
why you need to make these errors. So let's go ahead and update that code. So interesting. Let's see how that pans out. Eventually it's gonna crash because it keeps running and running, as you can see right here. But I need to figure out the shortcut to kill this program. All right, let's see.
Try Control C.
Yeah, it wouldn't let me. Yeah, but I should be able to stop it. But yeah, so you don't want to make that error that I made. That's totally fine. Let's carry on with the rest of it. So that's how you'd go about doing this particular example. And yay, everything is all gone. Computer is so angry with me right now. So this is what you eventually don't want to do. But let's go into Visual Studio Code and do the same thing. All right, let's see, where am I? Let's go into our Explorer. Oh, there you go. And day 3, day 4 is what I want. There you go, coming up, coming up, coming up. Okay, so my computer definitely did crash. Crashed on me, not nice. Not nice at all. This is horrible. Okay. Okay. Let's see. All right, can you guys hear me? I think I lost. Oh, no good. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so I finally had to jump on another computer to stop that code from running. Since yeah, that's what happens when we write programs and then they crash on us. So I have to restart my code, but that's totally fine. I'll go ahead and still update this for you. So let's see. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So you should be able to see my screen shortly. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So let's jump into Visual Studio Code, because obviously on here I should be able to kick myself out easily. This should have been in there, but that's fine. I'll cancel the move. I'll move that later on. Let's go ahead and create a new folder. Nope, that's not what I want to do. That's where I want to create a folder and call it day 4. Awesome. Inside day 4, let's create a new file and call it loan.py. In our loan.py, what do we need to do again? Let me go and grab everything that I typed in here earlier and paste it in there. So go ahead and paste that in there. Yay. And we're in business. All good? So I think this is a different piece of code though. Let's go ahead and make sure I'm getting the right piece of code. Come on, come on. There you go. And there we go. Awesome. So you can see now with an IDE, I can see mistakes that I made because I was trying to update my code. Now it's been updated. Okay. Let's see if this works out. To make a payment, the amount owed should be equal to amount owed minus our payments. Everything looks good. The only difference I did was I changed all those other new fields I had. So let's run this. Yeah, I don't like when it looks like this actually. So our car loan, let's try again, 800,500. Annual APR rate is, let's say, 0.02. Monthly payment, let's stick to the 500 again. And you can see that it took us 18 months to make that payment. Is everybody with me so far? I don't know why this is breaking up for me. I don't want it to break up like this. I want it to get the whole thing. And I'll go ahead and clear this out again so that we can see one more time. Let's go ahead and execute it. How much is your car loan? 8,500. How much is your APR rate? Let's say if it's 3, if it's 5%, that would be 0.5. And our monthly payment, let's go with 500 again. Again, it's taking us 4 months. But you can see that the balance is low. The balance is low because on month number 17, we had just $3 for our balance, right? That $3 for our balance, we need to be able to probably add some piece of code to make sure that we don't overpay at the end of the month. Does that make sense to everybody? So to make sure we don't overpay, we probably just want to add another condition. So you're making a payment that gives you the total amount of payment. But before we make a payment, we want to check if balance is less than payment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So again, just a simple condition. If money owed amount owed is less than payments, then we go ahead and just pay the amount owed, rather than paying everything all together. So in this case, oh, why do I have this? Variable amount owed is float. Expected, oh, never mind. That's because okay, that's fine. So let's indent it. If that's the case, let's go ahead and be nice and tell them what's going on. You'd say last payment is, let's give that the money owed, right? Amount owed. Now we can go ahead and say, hey, guess what? Means the fact that paid, oopsie, paid off your loan in months plus 1, because we haven't added it yet at the end, right? So we pay that off in months plus 1 months. After that, we're done. So if we're done, what do? We break. Get out of that loop. And then all of these don't need to execute anymore. Because again, we are inside our while loop. Does that make sense? So we have a condition. If this condition is met, we break. But before we break, we want to be nice and tell them what's going on before we're exiting. So that's the second part of what we had to do in our, oopsie, let's see. Nope, that's not what I want. Let me go back to our code. So that's the second part of what we wanted to do. While loops, being able to exit and break or continue. So we did an unknown number of iterations, which means we were able to just check whenever the amount owed is greater than 0, fine. We keep doing it and doing it. We did it about, let's see, how many times was it? 18. Yep, about 18 months. But now we realize that our balance is negative. If our balance is negative, we went ahead and added this piece of code to check if the balance is less than payment. If the balance is less than the payment, then we print that your last payment would be whatever it was. You paid it off in that number of months. So if I execute this right now, I can't remember what values I entered before, but let's try it again. 8,500 percentage APR. Let's try 0.04. It's getting lower. The payment is, let's make it $600. Now we got all the way to month number 14. We paid 600. Of that, the interest was about 2 cents. And now our balance was 100. With that balance of 100, it's definitely less than 600. So we said the last payment is that balance, and you paid off your loan in 15 months. Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? So yeah, that would be a good way to check it out. But again, it's dynamic. If we didn't want it to be dynamic, we can go ahead and just hard code the values in there. So when you go in to buy a house or a car and so on, you know what you need to know is the price, your APR, how much your payment is. You see how long it will take you in months to pay it off. Or if you want to see how many months you're interested in, you put in the months and then you specify how many payments you need to make to be in that month. So you can switch that up around a little bit. Make sense?
Yeah, Prof, this is great, but this is only considering that we are making $500 monthly, and some companies have the flexibility that you can pay more than 500, right?
Yeah.
Whatever amount that you
Yeah.
can pay, but the least amount needs to be this. But if you want to pay it off faster, you can increase to any amount you want monthly, and people can make payments maybe bi-monthly.
Yes. So again, that's something that you can throw in there. You can add options to your program, but you have to start bit by bit. You can add options and say, hey, it's month number 12. Do you want to make the same payment? Yes. Do you want to change your payment? Yes. What do you want to change it to? And so on and so forth. And then that way you can have that flexibility. But in this case, we are assuming that, your payments are always going to be the same. So if you want, you can add another variable in there to say, okay, enter your payment amounts, and you can specify, okay, if on this month, the first 3 months, I'll pay this amount and so on and so forth. But yeah.
Thank you. I own the process. I was almost like, this is real. This is happening. And now.
Yeah. So this is exactly what you would do to make this work. If you want to change it to say you want to specify the number of months, okay, the number of times that you want to make your payment, that case would be, let me go back to our code. That will be looking at for loops with known number of iterations. Okay. In that case, if we want to do that, all we have to do is, instead of doing a while loop, let me code that out. You need to do a for loop. So let's say for months in, again, remember that range that we talked about. Range in here, we want to use months. Now we want to specify how many months you want to pay it for. Let's say we want to pay for 48 months. That's 4 years. You can go ahead then and say, okay, for months within that, it's going to go ahead and run this 48 times. If you wanted to do it for 12 months, let's do 12. It's going to go ahead and run it for 12 times. But then we have to be careful. I don't want to go ahead and update the months. All I need to do then is subtract it. Okay. And then you say month number. Where is it? I can't see. Okay, that's months. Let's go down. Yep, I need to not print this out anymore. So made payments and so on and so forth, amount owed. Yep. So it's going to go through the iterations, but maybe I need to get another counter in here to be able to see what month it is that I'm making payments for. So month, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, actually, let's go ahead and print just month. Month number 1, I don't need to update this. Yeah. So let's try this out and see what happens this time around. Let's clear this. Execute that. How much is your car loan? Let's try 9,500. APR rate, let's try 0.06. How much is your monthly payment? 400. Now you can see that it's going to run for just those 12 months. So it starts with month number 0. I forgot about that. So it starts with month number 0. Why is that? It starts with month number 0 because when you use range, this range is going to start from 0 to, let's see, let me write a comment. Range of 5 starts from 0 to 4. Does that make sense? So here it's starting from month 0 and it's going to end at month 11 because we had 12 in here. So it's starting from 0 to 11. So let me update this. 12 would have 0 to 11. So what we need to do is add 1 each time. And you should have the correct one. So except you want to consider month 0 as your down payment. But yeah, that gives you, in this case, a defined set. Like after 24, what was that? After 12, sorry, after 1 year, your balance is going to be 4,700. If you want to change that and do 2 years, execute that. I remember the amounts I put in. Probably you pay it off in 2 years and so on and so forth. So those are all ways that you can use the for loop to look at defined range, or you can use the while loop to look at indefinite range, as we see here. Okay. So we've been able to test out the iterations, the breaks, and we also looked at ranges in both the indefinite and the defined loop. One thing we didn't talk about is iterables, but I don't want us to rush into that because that's what we'll be doing next week. Iterables, again, are just collections of stuff, collections of strings, collections of numbers, and so on and so forth. Sounds good? So this week we've been able to look at conditional execution. Oops, I did not intend to click on that. Conditional executions and loops and iterations. So with loops and iterations, we've just looked at a bunch of practice questions. We also started off with initializing variables. As you can see, it's important that you set things up ahead of time, initialize them, and so on. We looked at while loops, for loops, how to break out of the loop or how to continue to the next iteration. We did some practicing, and obviously debugging got us good. We were able to kick ourselves out with an infinite loop, not very friendly, not very fun. And yeah, so a few things to note here. It's always good to plan. Plan how you want to approach your problem. Otherwise, you get into issues like I just did. So in programming, there's something known as pseudocode. So let's see if I can find one here to share with you guys. Where is it? Lab. Nope, I don't think I had it. I thought I had the pseudocode ready for you guys, but apparently I don't. That sucks. Okay, 3 conditions. Yeah, oh, never mind. I do have it. So I gave you an exercise yesterday to do. And in that exercise, I asked you to, here it is. Let's go to the stream. I asked you to write a program that will prompt a user for a score between 0 and 1. And then you get to tell them what grade they had based on that. So in order for you to write a program like this, it's good to have a plan, a game plan, right? So in programming, it's known as pseudocode, right? So pseudocode is pretty much just writing your code in plain English. Like I did here, I have a bunch of comments. that's what I need to do to be able to execute that. First, I'm going to set everything up. I'll get the user input. I'll validate that user's input. I'll check if the score is within that range, which was 0.1 to 1. And then if the score is greater than a certain number, I assign a particular grade and so on and so forth. Okay, so instead of doing 0 and 1 and 1.0, I did 0 and 100. Okay, that way it's just more user friendly. So to set things up, I'm going to have a variable, a bucket, a memory location. That is where I'm going to store my grade. Okay, so what I need to do is get the user's input. Because I know the user can be problematic, I probably want to use that try method, or sorry, that try statement or clause that I used earlier yesterday. So I get the score input, enter your score between 0 and 100, and convert it to a float. Now I need to check if the score is within a range. So if the score is within 0, and that is one of those logical operators we talked about. So in this case, this left sub expression has to be true, and the right sub expression has to be true before any of the code inside is going to run. If it's not true, all I'm going to get is skip to the else. If the score is outside the range. If the score is outside that range, it tells me your score is outside the range, blah, 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 case closed. If the user decides to type in ABC in this try, then he gets caught, tells you please enter a numeric score. But if the user is good, they enter a score between 0 and 9. All I do is I check if the score is equal to or more than 90, I print it out. Or rather than print it out, I assign that grade that I used before. So I don't get to print it 10, 20, 30 times. I just give it a grade for each score. After I'm done giving the grade for each score, I go ahead and I print that your grade is whatever the grade was assigned to you. So if you didn't get over 60, then I'm going to give you an F. So if you run that, you should have something that says enter your score. So I do 56, you have an F. Run it again, enter your score, 87. Oh, what did I miss? 87 should be a B. But I think that might just be because my CPU is really used up. Yep, that's why. So your grade is B. And so on and so forth. So if I try running it again and I have 99, my grade is A. So make sure you take some time, plan out your process, and then execute it. You can copy these comments and put them in each section. It's going to definitely help you out a lot. Sounds good? So that's a good exercise. I just completed that for you. If you haven't made changes to example 1, I know I gave you guys a quiz last week. Go back and rewrite your computation to make sure that you accommodate for overtime, and then go about making sure that you can handle non-numeric errors. I will send you a copy of this so it can guide you in doing your work. And I'll also have content for today. I'm going to send out our content for today. Also set an assignment for you to do throughout the week. It's not going to be tough, as easy as the rest of the other ones. Okay. And then I'll also send the glossary. Once the recording is ready, I will share the recording with you as well. So what questions do we have? We're 3 minutes over the hour. Questions, comments, concerns? Yes, Mr. Aaron. Questions?
No, I just have to play with the stuff and see where it takes me.
Excellent.
yeah.
How about you, Mr. Fabian?
Oh, good here. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, so there's fun stuff that you get to do. I know most of the time we're looking at numbers. Don't worry about these numbers. We can also look at letters, strings. We're going to spend a lot of time after next week with strings because trust me, as you see here, strings and files, we're going to need to get input. We're probably not going to need people entering input all the time. Somebody can send you a file, you can play with it, you can get a file from the internet, and so on and so forth. Like yesterday, I was actually playing with, that's probably why my CPU is going crazy. Yesterday, I was playing with a very fun stuff. I can't remember if, yeah, a very fun piece of code because I don't know if anybody is familiar with Cedar Point. Is anybody here familiar with Cedar Point?
No, not
So
me.
Cedar Point is it's an amusement park. It's one of the biggest amusement parks, just like Disneyland and so on. So it is located in an island somewhere by Ohio. Oh, where is the map? And I'm thinking of going there with the kids this summer. Man, it's crazy. It's a crazy place to go to. It's somewhere out here in Sandusky. They have those crazy roller coasters right here. And I mean, it's one of those crazy places you don't want to go to like Disney. So I have to come up with the best things I want to do. So I found this website. Let me run this. I'm going to delete that part. I found this website. This should open a browser. No, it's taking forever. And maybe it's gonna open it somewhere else. And on that website, it has, tips for first timers, like fun things that you can do. I pretty much downloaded the website, 45 amazing first timer tips, and so on and so forth. But as you can see, the tips are in bold right here. This is one thing you want to do. That's another thing you want to do. I don't want to go painstakingly copying all of this right here. So I just wrote a Python script to do that for me. And Python, again, it has wonderful libraries. I was able to import all these libraries that I need. I don't need to rewrite it. And I import the libraries. I was able to pull all the text that have header 3. I check the length of it, check the type of it. So if I execute this, it tells me it's of that data type. Let me execute this as well. It's not making connection. That's not good. But at the end of the day, when I executed this for loop, I'm saying that for each tip within the list of tips, go ahead and print the tip. And now I have nicely here the 45 things that I need to do or I need to help myself prepare for the trip. So whatever website you're looking at, you can go into any website and extract the information you need. This is just a simple loop that I used to loop through the entire website information and get all that information. So very easy. Once you have that set up, I can change this to another, should I say, identifier, or should I say CSS type, then I should be able to get the information. But it's very important, it's very fun to play with it. And I encourage you to do more research and see what you can do. Okay? All right. What questions do you have?
No, so as you're talking, right, and applying these things, I keep looking at your forehead like these are the people that used to crack like A and in maths back in school. Like, how can I just empty that your brain into mine?
Fabian, trust me, if you empty my forehead, the amount of Guinness that you find inside, you know, it's not going to help you out. The amount of Guinness that's going to come out, you're going to sleep all day, my brother. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like I said, it's a lot of mistakes and errors that we've learned from, and then we're able to do this. So again, it's a work in progress. As you keep practicing, you're going to get better and better. Don't stress yourself with these things. Have fun, and you do something fun like this. You know, just a simple code like this. You can do this. Put it on your what do you call it? On your GitHub. If you go on an interview, they say, yeah, so tell me about some fun stuff. They don't need you to talk about some crazy financial project that you did for, you know, for your company. Just talking about this, you know, it shows that you're somebody fun. Like, you know what, I was thinking about this, but, you know, I figured out a way to go and call on a web page and pick out just the information I need. If you're going to FIFA web page, you can go in and pick just the names of the players that scored goals, just the name of the teams that qualified for whatever, and so on and so forth, and present it nicely. You know, you describe some of the challenges you had. Oh, I was unable to, like, personally, I had a challenge in here. I was not able to read the website because it's secure. So what I did was I had to go ahead and download the HTML, which you see here. The HTML from there, I was able to now open that file and then save it as a particular thing that I use with Beautiful Soup. So that's a challenge that you overcame. So challenges are not meant for us to stop working. If I stopped at this point and said, you know what, this thing is not going to work, forget about it. But you need to figure out a way around it and then to get your code to work. Sounds good? So we'll keep playing around. We'll keep playing around with a lot of stuff. Like I said, I showed you guys some of the weather stuff. We can also do rock, paper, scissors. I'm going to give you guys the rock, paper, scissors. That way you can do it on your own. I'll probably add it to this code. So I think 2 is too small for you to do all week. So I'm going to add the assignment and add a third one for you to do rock, paper, scissors. You can make it so that the computer always chooses scissors and then you get to choose. But I'll set it up. After that, when we get back, I'll figure out a way to share with you so that you can make the computer to choose randomly. So for that, you need to add a particular library, which I don't want you guys to bother about. So don't worry about it for now. Everything should be okay. Let me go ahead and share with you all the material that we have, and you should be good to go. Sounds good? So practice, 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 practice. Don't let up. Contact me if you have any difficulties, whatever you need, I'll do my best to help you with. Sounds like a plan? All right.
Yeah.
So enjoy the rest of your Easter. Happy egg hunting, and be nice to all the bunnies.
Thank you. Oh, eat the bunnies.
All right. Enjoy your day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All righty. Let's stop.